The first MRI showed nothing. The second MRI showed nothing. Finally, the third MRI showed a benign tumor in the middle of his back that required immediate surgery. My dad, who was notoriously a tough guy in the past, who had been a city champion wrestler, who had been a notoriously good barroom brawler back in the days growing up in Minneapolis, was, for the first time in his life, he was truly frightened. He was so frightened, in fact, that he decided that he might have to look at selling his house, and he even went and updated his will. So it all started back in the fall when my dad had a fall and he's got weak in the knees and he got shaky and he didn't know what was going on. He kept complaining of weakness in the knees, and I thought he just needed to get some adjustments. So I referred him to our chiropractor, where he did get some adjustments, and I worked on some rehab exercises, but to no avail. My dad, he just continued to get weaker and weaker, and we didn't know what was going on, so we ordered those MRIs until we figured out what was going on. Now my dad did get through the surgery and he got better. They fixed the problem, but coming out of that surgery, he was very, very weak. And he has this deer hunting camp that he's hosted for 60 years with a bunch of his buddies, and he's never missed one. This was the first year in 60 years that he was going to miss deer opener. And I know it killed him to be up at the cabin. He was up there, but he had to watch everybody go out and hunt while he stayed back in the cabin because he just was too weak to get out in the woods and walk around. It wasn't safe. And that was his tipping point. He did not want to miss another big hunt. And he has 2 Super Bowls, if you want to call them Super Bowls, of hunting that he does every year. Number 1 is the deer camp. Well, we've missed that. But number 2 is coming up in April, and that is the South Dakota turkey hunting trip he does with me and a friend and my stepson, Brandon. And he was going to miss that unless something changed. And we're in November, and this was in April. And so you got to know a little background about my dad. My dad does not like to work out. Never has. He's overweight. He's 80 years old. And he frequently has a joke that he's the before picture and I'm the after picture. But this time, he knew he had to do something. So he asked me for help. He said he wanted to start working out because he wanted to get his balance, his strength, and his endurance back so that he could make that trip in the spring. He did not want to miss that. A part of his life had been ripped away, and he wanted it back. Because hunting was something that filled him up, and he didn't have that right now. So we began to train, and for the first time in his life, he actually listened to me, at least most of the time. He actually did on his days off, he came in. I've never seen him do this. Came in and did treadmill workouts on his own to build up his walking endurance for hunting. And yes, there were times when he would argue with me and challenge me, being my dad, like most parents do with their kids. But I reassured him to trust the process. And as we went through the phases of training, he actually started to notice things change. Over time, he noticed better endurance. His balance improved. His strength got better. Something was changing, and he started to regain his confidence. He got to a point where he had enough confidence. He went out into the pheasant hunting trip with one of his friends and walked the fields. And that was kind of the first big step into that, getting back into hunting. Well, by the time our hunting trip in South Dakota rolled around in April, he was more than ready. He actually was the first person in our whole group to get a turkey. And he continued, even after we got back, to work and do his number 2 passion, was working in the yard. So he's back to doing his 2 passions, number 1 hunting, number 2 working in the yard. And watching my dad go from having to walk the walker and being almost like crippled in October to being back to full strength and probably better than he's been in years, taught me 3 really cool things. Number 1 is no matter where you're at, you know, my dad, I think he said he's 80 years old, overweight, never really worked out in his life. You can with a strong purpose and goal, and my dad clearly had defined those things, you can come from anywhere and accomplish anything. I truly believe that. And my dad's living proof of that. And I would really say write these things down and keep them in front of you, because we know in life a lot of things can distract you, but my dad kept that right in front of him. He could see that hunting trip, and he could see himself in that Black Hills trip. He kept that vision in front of him. And I know he didn't want to come in and work out every day, but he did, because he knew he needed to do it if he was going to make that trip. So strong purpose and goal, number 1. Number 2 is having a good guide. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but my dad leaned on me because he knew I had specialized training in neurology and corrective exercise that could help him get better a lot quicker. I've been through a lot of advanced training in my 25 years, and so I have some pretty cool tricks that can help his nervous system, not just his muscles, work better, which is his central command center, which helps really kind of controls his balance and controls how his body works. So he had that guide to get him through different phases of training and progress him appropriately so that he made progress in a way that wasn't overwhelming but wasn't underwhelming either, that he can make continual progress and slowly built that confidence back because he could see himself doing new things and better things consistently. And number 3, I'm just going to tell you this, any goal that's worth it, there's no shortcuts. You got to work hard, you got to have discipline, you got to be consistent, and you got to make some changes. My dad had to give up some of his things that he liked to do for some of the things he needed to do because he knew that's what had to happen if he was going to make progress. He actually had to change his eating habits because he wasn't eating enough to fuel his body to recover from the workouts. So we got him eating better and doing things smarter and doing better supplementation, all those things like an athlete would, because his sport was hunting. So he had to make some lifestyle changes, which he did and he continues to this day. So I'm proud of my dad because he continues to come in and do his training for this day. In the past, he maybe trained with me for a while, and when he felt better, he quit. Well, he's continued to do it now because he has come to the realization that a little bit of maintenance goes a long ways to keeping your physical fitness at a level where you can do the things that you truly enjoy outside of the gym and to keep your quality of life high.